Hello, my name is Daniel Lee, and I teach adult education at Arkansas State University in Newport. And I wanted to make the second part of our Articles of Confederation video, where we look closer at the differences between the Articles and also the Constitution. So if you haven't watched the first part of this video, go back and watch it, and then come back and watch this one. So let's look. So the Articles of Confederation, some of the negative aspects of it was Congress had no power to tax or regulate trade. There was no common currency. Each state printed its own money, which you can imagine became very confusing as far as conversion rates and what one state would and would not accept as money. There was no executive or judicial branch, just the Congress, just the legislative. There was no federal government. The states had all the power, and each state had one vote. And all the states had to agree, 13 out of 13. It had to be a unanimous decision for anything to be changed or anything to be added. Which the thought of you being able to get 13 states with different interests and different geographic regions to agree upon something is something that I don't think many of the founding fathers even thought would happen. So remember, the Articles of Confederation was a loose association of states, and it is the agreement and the document that got us through the revolution. But the long-term solution is going to be the U.S. Constitution. The U.S. Constitution had three branches: legislative, judicial, and executive, and power was divided between all three. It had a Bill of Rights that outlined our rights. It formed the common currency. There was a strong federal government, and power was shared between the federal government and the state government. However, as you see here, federal law is the supreme law of the land. So even though the power was shared, federal power and federal law trumped or superseded state law. Congress has the power to tax and regulate trade. Keep in mind that the only way the government gets money is through taxes. So you had to have that tax there. Federal power is limited to those specified in the Constitution. So that is, a lot of people were afraid the federal government would get too powerful. And the Great Compromise, where they were able to agree upon a Senate and also a House of Representatives in Congress. So the Articles of Confederation is where most of the states had all the power. And the Constitution came along and said, no, we need a strong federal government that holds all these states together. Because as we saw in the first video, these states all had different interests. So you had to have something that tied them together. And that is the beauty thing about the U.S. Constitution, is it put more emphasis on the whole, on all the states being together, where the Articles of Confederation looked at 13 separate countries in a loose association. So that is the main difference between the Articles of Confederation and the U.S. Constitution. I wanted to look at this quote. It is from Lafayette. He was a Frenchman who fought with us during the Revolution and later became an American citizen. And this is what he said about the Articles of Confederation. He said, our Articles of Confederation ought to be revised and measures immediately taken to invigorate the Continental Union. Depend upon it, there lies the danger for America. This last stroke is wanting, and unless the states be strongly bound to each other, we have to fear from the British and indeed from European politics. So he's saying that these Articles of Confederation, we need to revise them immediately. Because if we depend upon it, there lies the danger for us. And unless the states be strongly bound to each other, we are going to be susceptible to European politics and wars. So we needed a strong federal government to hold all the states together, and that was the best way to move forward as a country.